Good day, people. Welcome to this second tutorial on learning After Effects. So today I've made the schedule, so let's have a quick look at that. There you go. Today we're going to be learning about importing footage, 2D tracking, masking, a bit of masking because I didn't cover it in the last video, as you can see. And then we're going to learn about applying effects and then a bit of color correction if we get to it. Before we get into that, I'd like to give you a quick little word about why this series is different from others. So I've looked up on YouTube series on learning After Effects, and there's a bunch, but I find that they all start very simple. So it's like how to make a comp, and it's very in-depth on how to make these very simple things. What I'm trying to do with this series is teach you advanced techniques and things that you'll be doing constantly when you're doing compositing and when you're doing your effects. So everything I'll be teaching you in this series, you'll find yourself doing over and over. So that's why I'm doing it. So let's get right into it. So importing footage, because that's our first thing today. Importing footage, pretty simple. So I've already imported mine. I mean from my card. So there we go. So pretend this is your card with all your footage in it. So basically what you want to do is create a folder for your After Effects project, or for if it's a video you're making, you should already have a folder you created with all your footage in it. So I'm just going to create a new folder within my video folder, and I'm going to call it footage. And then in here I'm going to select all the clips, but because I already know which ones I want, I don't have to look for them. There we go. Move that over there, and now I have the footage I'm going to work with. So I can essentially delete this. Okay, so now that I have my footage into this folder that I created, I can go back into After Effects. Now there's many ways of importing stuff. You can right click and do import and then find a bunch of stuff. But I find it's easier to just open up the folder, drag it in, wait a second, and there it is. Alright, now these clips I have pre-rendered them. So these were like 70 megabytes to 40 megabytes. But I rendered them out so that they would be like 11 megabytes, 7 megabytes, and 10 megabytes. Just so that you guys can follow along, which, by the way, these clips are in the description, so go ahead and download those if you want to follow along. So let's go with the first one. So actually, let me just open all these up just so you can see. This first one, we're going to be tracking words to this camera. We're going to write like, I don't know, sweet camera above it, or I don't know, something like that. And then we got this paper track, which we're going to be grabbing a piece of either a picture or a document, and we're going to slap it on there. It's going to look like this page actually has something written on it, or there's a picture on it. And then last one, I was a bit on the fence, no pun intended about the fence. I was a bit on the fence about doing this one simply because I was going to end up showing how to roto, which is what I want to do in the next tutorial. I guess I'll just skip over that part. I'll show it briefly, but I won't really explain too much. Okay, so enough talking. Let's get right into it. So let's go with our first track. What we want to do for this one, actually, okay. Before I do anything, let me just put a little star. There we go. 2D tracking. Let's get right onto it, and then maybe we can see where it goes from there. So let me just quickly render this so that I don't have to, Alright, so I'm realizing I should have used 720p footage instead because I'm recording. It's kind of hard on my computer. Anyway, so there we go. We got this clip. Now we're going to track, basically what I want is to pan over, and then I want words up here to sort of appear from behind the camera, or just fade in. But yeah, let's get right onto that. So let's go over here, and then around here I'd like to start tracking. So what we're going to do, we're going to select our footage, and then in the tracker tab, which if you don't have, I've mentioned this in the last tutorial, go in window and then click on tracker, which is right down here. Once you clicked on that, you'll probably have a window somewhere, and just drag it into the corner, and it should look like that. If you have a timeline all the way, put it in this blue area, and it should appear over here. Alright, so once you clicked on tracker, click on track motion, and then you get a little gizmo. So actually, to get better tracks, you want to go into full quality because it's better. Just get more detail and the tracker can see detail a bit easier. Alright, so the After Effects tracker, I won't sugarcoat it, it's not the best. It does the job, but the way it does it is not the best. So basically what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to find a point that has a lot of contrast. So you'll notice where this Y right there, that has a lot of contrast, or the tip of the Y right there, or this pointy triangle part of the N, that could work as well. Between the Y, that could work as well. Alright, so basically the way the After Effects tracker works is it's not a planar tracker, which you've probably heard of Mocha before. Mocha basically tracks an area of space. So in Mocha, it would be as easy as doing this, putting it over Sony, and then it would just track the whole Sony. And you'd think that's how it works in After Effects, but it's actually only tracking a point. So that's kind of a bummer. So I'm gonna do that. Gonna sort of shrink this area. Actually, that might look like a better spot for it. Or actually maybe this. Who knows? Trial and error. You never really know until you try it. So I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna increase this square so that it goes a bit slower, but it's gonna be a lot more precise. So there you go. Let's try it out. So what you want to do at this point, you want to go down here and you want to press Analyze Forwards. You could do Analyze one frame forward and you'll see it created a keyframe. Yeah, actually that looks pretty solid. So let's go right ahead and click Analyze Forwards. Now you can press the spacebar to pause it and see how it's doing. Looks like it's doing alright. Looking pretty solid. Yep. Still pretty solid. Now you'll notice there's going to start to be motion blur, so it might get a bit not precise. It might jump around a bit. So I'm going to make the square a bit bigger so that it takes a bit more time to analyze the frame. You'll notice it's going a lot slower because the square is bigger. Alright, motion blur's gone. I can shrink this back down a bit to speed it up. And that's basically how you track something. It's not a trial and error, so basically I could have tracked, let's say, this dot on the eye right there. I could have tracked anything on there. But because I've done it before, I know that this basically black on basically white, or this light gray, I know there's a lot of contrast there, so it's going to work quite well. But when you're starting, you don't really know where is a good spot to track. So yeah, there we go. That works just fine. So yeah, let me just finish tracking. I'll speed through it, and then we can get on to the final step. Alright, the track just ended and it looks pretty solid. So that's good. That's good. I'm actually gonna track backwards just a little bit, just because I can. So I'm just gonna do that. Okay. And then actually, I'll show you what it looks like when it goes off frame. It jumps around. It kind of goes crazy. So right about there. There you go. No, it didn't jump around. It just doesn't know where to go. Yeah, when your track is not that solid and it goes off frame, it'll jump around. But because it knows that that shape's gone, I guess it just stays there. Okay, cool. So that's good. This track looks solid. So that's always a good sign. I forgot to mention this before we did the track. Always create a null object. So right click, new null object. I've already shown this in the previous tutorial, except we spawned in a solid. Next up, in this tracker tab, let's focus over here. Actually, I wonder if that would help. Nope. And this tracker tab, go and edit target, and then change this to null 1, or whatever null you have on there. Press OK, and then press apply. And then it'll say apply dimensions X and Y, and press yes. And now you have a null object that follows that same path. So that's pretty good. Okay, so let me quickly, actually no. Alright, so let's bring in some titles and let's write something pretty cool.